to go with nobody's home to increase my understanding. My daily bread that amazing. I'm talking about precepts, precept on precept, line upon line, precept on precept, line upon line.
Babe, I can't keep explaining, can't study for you. I can't think of nothing.
We are not a hate group. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group. Israel United in Christ is a nonviolent, Bible-based movement. We do not advocate or condone any acts of violence against any race, ethnicity, or gender. We advise that if to anyone or to break the laws of the land, you must contact the proper authorities to bring an awareness to any possible threat as stated in Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1.
Hey, Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. Welcome to Precept Upon Precept Late Show. We are your host. My name is Captain Shem.
Officer Thomas.
Officer Solomon.
Officer Zadiah.
So like we do every single show, by the way, y'all, subscribe to our YouTube page, israelunite.org. No, that's the website. I'm so used to singing that. New Orleans, we're trying to get to 30K. We're not there yet. They're slowing the numbers down literally. We've been like the same 28,000 for months and months and months, all right? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and also Rumble, the new platform. All praise to the Most High. So let's go ahead and start like we always do with the thumbnail for tonight's show. Okay? All right. Officer Zadiah.
Yes, sir. In the middle of the meme, we have Christ looking down upon the chessboard. And we know that's Christ because he has the green garment, the beryl garment with the fine gold. All right. We have Trump to his right with the American flag in the background, all right, representing America, trying to conquer the nations. And underneath Christ, we have a chessboard because he's behind all of these things going on. The Most High God is the author of all of these things. In your top right-hand corner, you'll see a peace and war switch. And that switch is clicked to war, and that war is on fire. All right, and if you look in the background, you have the map of the world. In the corners, you have the elections and things that's transpiring at this time. And again, the day of Trump's reign approaches, the Most High to move men's.
Hey, to move men. And I'm going to tell you something. Today is January the 16th. By the time we have the next radio show, Donald Trump will be sworn into office. We are living in some volatile times. Things are about to pop off. They're already popping off. We got a really good show tonight. A lot has happened since last Thursday. Matter of fact, one of the sources, I had to wait until 3 p.m. to get the interview I was looking for. So all praise the Lord. Let's start up. There's 3 in a row. Zadiah, get me. It's either Matthew. A kingdom divided cannot stand. Yep. So what you're finding out here, if you watch Precept Upon Precept, we are geopolitical, meaning we go into geography throughout the earth. We look at politics and the inner workings of the governments. Okay, we've shown you what has happened since the beginning of the Ukraine-Russia war, what led up to it. We showed you the farming stripes. We showed you the destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline. We showed you all of that. Now, Donald J. Trump will be in office in 4 days. The world is about to change, and God's behind it all. Read that, brother.
The book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 25.
Come on.
And Jesus knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation.
Every kingdom that's divided against itself is what?
Is brought to desolation.
Give me Matthew 15:24. In the Bible, you will find oftentimes, in particular with Israel, they're referred to as the house. There's a really good show on, I don't know what the hell, it's Netflix and one of them. It's called The House of the Dragons. Excellent series. and it goes into the lines of certain noble families. Read that. Y'all check that out. There's some good stuff in that. Read.
The book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 24.
Come on.
But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
The house of Israel. There's the house of Ishmael. There's the house of Esau. Esau's house is being divided. His kingdom is crumbling apart. Now, I'm going to show you, this is how you know, like at the end of the Roman Empire, it was called the Age of Decadence. And what happened in that age is times were very plentiful. Morals started to shift downward because they had great military power. They began to relax their standards, and they imploded from the inside up. That's exactly what's happening right now. Let's let Esau, when we say Esau, by the way, listen. Black man, African American, Israelites. White man, Esau, okay? United States of America, white man. It's just terms. We're not pro-black. Well, we are pro-Israel, pro-Israelites. We're not pro-Arab. We're not pro-white. We are pro-God. So listen, let me just, disclaimer. In society, in this world, our own people oftentimes treat us worse than the nations. Mm-hmm. So we have no hatred towards any white people. Matter of fact, there's some of the nicest folks I've ever met have been nice to me, have been Caucasians.
That's true.
It doesn't change the fact that we went into slavery, broke the commandments. They're going to go in captivity. They're going to pay according to the sins of the tragedies of their fathers. Mm-hmm. I had to do a disclaimer. Okay? Play the first video. Now, this is an older clip of a man named George Carlin. He's an Edomite. I like the guy. He's a funny guy. And he's going to tell you, and he says it perfectly. It's called selective anger, assigned values for horror and terror. Watch what he says. It's perfect.
Murderers are called commandos. Arab commandos are called terrorists. Contra killers are called freedom.
Let's start it again. Okay. This is probably about 20-something years. George Carlin looks a lot older than that now. But what he says is this may be the late 90s. I'm going to tell you something. What he said then is exactly what is going on right now. Check this out. Play it from the very beginning.
Israeli murderers are called commandos. Arab commandos are called terrorists. Contra killers are called freedom fighters. The CIA doesn't kill anybody anymore. They neutralize people. Or they depopulate the area. The government doesn't lie. It engages in disinformation. Smug, greedy, well-fed white people have invented a language to conceal their sins. It's as simple as that.
So that is the white man telling on his people. Why? Because it's truth. And that's why the people in the crowd were like, yep. And guess what? Not only are European Caucasians sick and tired of the doggone NATO, back by America, a lot of white Americans also are fed up, and they know exactly what the hell is going on. And they think that Trump is going to save them from everything. But they don't understand that. Now, we'll get to play the next one. This one is even better. Number 2 is, don't play it yet. I want to look up on the screen. Okay. This guy, Mr. Dave Smith, is a Jewish American. So we can't say, we're not going to get labeled as being anti-Semitic, even though we are from Shem. And by the way, guess who else is from Shem? All of Abraham's children, all 8 sons, okay? And guess who? All the lines of many, many tens of millions of Shemitic people on the earth. Now, Dave Smith is a Jewish libertarian. He's a political activist. He actually uses F words. He's like a younger, hipper movement. But what he says is very, very relevant for today's show.
Wars of the Israeli lobby. Liz Cheney is Hillary Clinton, is Nikki Haley, is Mike Pompeo, is all of the neocon warhawks. They're exactly the same. And just so you understand, who the neoconservatives are the American vanguard of the Israeli lobby. That's who they are, okay? America is not threatened by anyone, okay? We have two giant oceans around us, a gigantic nuclear arsenal. The idea that anyone can even convince you that Iran poses some threat to the United States of America, all these wars are bullshit. F the wars, support peace.
Hey, Cap, that just goes to show you that in order for America to get inside of these wars, they got to convince the American people that it's some kind of fear towards their freedom. Yep. And that's what they have to do. If the American people don't have no fear, they can't push these wars and they can't get their agenda out. And he just said it right there.
That's it. Later on, I want you to all remember what Officer Thomas just said, because we're going to find out one of our sources tonight. It says the exact same thing. And a lot of, especially the special forces, they call them Green Berets, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, they realized that after doing their tours, that they were sent on missions that were not needed at all. And a lot of these guys are livid, okay? Angry. They find out when they're 40s and their 50s, they get angry later on. This next one, so far we've had, the first one was who? I forget it. The first one we just played.
George Carlin.
George, okay. Middle-aged white comedian. Then we had a Jewish political activist. Jewish, mind you. Now we're going to show you a Caucasian Christian or priest. I think he's Catholic. Orthodox priest who is a Caucasian telling about what's going on with the Israeli Jewish man. Let's see is he anti-Semitic? Okay? Play.
Gaza is even closer to home for Orthodox Christians in many ways because it's the Holy Land. And to see this, forgive me, I'm showing way too many of my cards about this, but to see this Zionist state, irrationally in my mind allied with the United States of America, a Knesset that is full of the vast majority who think Jesus Christ was a false rabbi, properly executed.
So pause real quick. That's when you understand the understanding of Judaism and Jewish people's doctrine. They do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as the Savior of Israel. Some call him a false prophet. Some say he was just a prophet. They don't acknowledge him. So in their division of their Judaism, there's even different facts within that. Some believe that you have to use the Talmud. Others say you don't use the Talmud. It is all divided. He's, as a Caucasian priest, he's like, look, why would we be allies with people that don't even believe in his mind that Jesus Christ and Christianity is the backbone of America? He said, why would we be allies with someone who doesn't even believe in Jesus? Watch what he says.
And this is our chief ally? For what? For what? You know, my church is full of immigrants who were driven out of the Holy Land in 1948, and then later, 20 years later, by Jewish soldiers who came to their homes where they had lived for untold generations. They came at noon with guns, and they said, we're coming back at 5. If you're here, we'll kill you. So they left. Many of them came to America, some came to California, and they were part of the founding of my parish.
So we want to show you that it's people across languages, cultures, religions, all Caucasians, some Jewish, are 100% against what's going on. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter if all of them stand together. God is the Most High. God is behind the scenes as the ultimate puppet master of men, making these guys' hearts hard. Okay? If you look at Al Jazeera today, they think they killed another 70 people on the Gaza Strip just today. You got something? Bring it out. Okay, so look, let's go right into number 4. Number 4.
And look, while we waiting on that, Cap, let me get something real quick. Let me get 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and start at verse 6. Because what the other nations, what we are doing is showing who this man is. Especially the people in America, they don't know the atrocities that America does. They hide it behind the CIA and all these other secret organizations. Read this real quick.
The book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 6.
Uh-huh.
And now ye know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time.
Who are we revealing? We're revealing the mystery of iniquity. Babylon the whore. This is what we're revealing. Read.
For the mystery of iniquity doth already work.
It's a mystery, the mystery of iniquity. Who is the person behind all this sin? It's a mystery. All these other nations, they don't know. Now they starting to find out. Paul is talking about it. Read it again.
For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let.
That's the Most High God's letting them do what they do. Read on.
Until he be taken out of the way.
Showing you that this is the Most High God's plan. He's letting them do this, and at the same time, he's revealing who he is to all these other nations, showing that, listen, this is the devil behind the scenes that's got the network that's doing all these atrocities. This is who this man is. All right, that's it on that.
That's it. And the wicked going to be revealed. And give me Isaiah 14:21. The wicked is not only going to be revealed, but they're going to have to pay for their crimes. And right now, if you are a black American, you may be watching the show for the first time, you're like, what the hell are they talking about? The blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and the so-called blacks of the diaspora who were sold into slavery, who are continually be marginalized, oppressed, taken advantage of, robbed, spoiled. We are the 12 tribes of Israel. And God is going to redeem us. And in the process, he's going to destroy the people that did this to us. Isaiah 14 and start at verse 20.
The book of Isaiah chapter 14 verse 20. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people.
Right.
The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned.
That's who they are, the seed of evildoers. They're never going to be known in that day. Watch this, read on.
Verse 21. Prepare slaughter for his children.
Whose children? The seed of evildoers that will never be renowned. Right now, are they renowned? Oh, you better believe it. Isn't it amazing how right now this guy, Benjamin Netanyahu, is responsible for killing tens of thousands of innocent civilians. And the guy right now is eating great. He's in good health. He gets to do what he wants, and there's no repercussions. Matter of fact, the Court of International Court has found him guilty. They can do nothing they can't touch him, showing you that they are renowned. They sit on a level they think they're above God. Okay, read on.
Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers.
And not only has he destroyed our people, we've gotten at the worst, but he also slaughters the Arabs by the thousands. And it is judgment of God, but when we find out when looking at the prophecies, according to 2 Ezra 14, they will come together with great noise, and they're going to rise up, okay? And we're going to be in the midst of this in this next year. You're going to see it. Number 4, we're going to show you NATO. NATO, which is the North American Trade Organization. Pull up the acronym NATO real quick. And I'm going to show you it doesn't even make any sense. Because some countries are not even in this region at all. Okay? Pull up NATO. Just as a quick refresher. Okay, so it's the North Atlantic.
Yes. North Atlantic.
So if it's the North Atlantic, right? Atlantic is the north part of the Atlantic Ocean. That's what they're talking about. You've got different countries that are not even near the Atlantic Ocean that are a part of that. It makes no sense. Okay? So keep that in mind. This organization, pull up the list of the countries if you can. I know I didn't tell you to get this. current, just all the different countries. It should have the yeah, there we go. So just a couple of them real quick, y'all. Can you read that? Just a couple of them. I don't know if I can barely see. There you go.
Albania, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Montenegro, Netherlands, North Macedonia, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Turkey, UK, and the US of A.
Okay. So those are aligned with NATO and the West. When they say the West, that's interchangeable with Esau, backed by America. Now, go to number 4. It's timestamp for you. This is, I got to preface this guy every time. The man's name we're about to talk about, who's going to talk with us, rather, about what's going on, is a man named Scott Ritter. There's 2 things he has that's important. Number 1, he was a United States Marine Corps intelligence officer. So he sat on boardrooms and he was in meetings. But more importantly, he also was not a regular guy. He was a chief United Nations weapons inspector during the Gulf War. And he came to the conclusion, and this is why he wrote books and things, that the U.S. government is in his mind, is being misled and they're full of crap, and they create false narratives to push their agenda. And he realizes that. So he is an Edomite of Edomites, a chief guy in the officer realm of the U.S. Marine Corps, as well as he had to get the job of a UN weapon inspector first. Then they said, this guy's a good weapon inspector. We're going to make him the top. So he has a lot of credibility, and they've tried to discredit this guy by saying something about a sexual case. They came to his house. They've thrown this guy because they're trying to discredit everything about him. All right? Now, that being said, watch what he says. He's fiery in this. Watch this.
Jake Sullivan, not one of our favorite people, has been making a farewell tour over the weekend. I want to play a clip. This will aggravate you a little bit, but I'd love your comments on it, claiming that because of Joe Biden, the U.S. is stronger, Russia is weaker, and NATO is in better shape. It's like he's in another world, Scott, but I'll let you listen to it and solicit your comment. Chris, cut number 1.
Where across the globe could you point and say the United States is safer because of what we did here?
Well, I'd start by saying our alliances are stronger than we found them 4 years ago. They're stronger than they've been in decades. NATO is more powerful, purposeful, and bigger. Our alliances in the Asia-Pacific are at all-time highs. And our adversaries and competitors are weaker across the board. Russia's weaker, Iran's weaker, China is weaker. And all the while, we kept America out of war. So I think the American people are safer, and the country is better off than...
When he says they kept America out of war, out of a direct conflict, yes, but the United States fights proxy wars. And we've covered that in multiple shows where they use other foreign entities as a means to launch their will through that country, okay? So the U.S. has fought multiple proxy wars in Biden's term. Just keep that in mind. Play.
Yeah, can I say something right
Yeah,
quick?
of course.
Let me get just... This is a part of the popular persuasion, because the American people watch this news, these people on the news, and they have you believe that Russia is weaker and China is weaker, when China has the fastest growing economy out of everybody. China's blowing everybody out of the water. Then they got Russia. They tried to put the sanctions on Russia. They try to weaken Russia with the Ukraine war, and Russia's doing fine. So if you watch the mainstream media and you believe this, you don't watch no independent media, you'll believe everything that these people is telling you.
Russia had 16,000 plus sanctions put on it. And guess who it hurt? Europe. It didn't hurt Russia at all. Okay, and we're going to get into that. Thomas, what you're saying is these experts are saying the same exact thing. Now, this guy is and this is the thing, there's tens of millions of Americans that, see how it says the State of the Union in the back? They believe, they put their trust in what the government is telling them. And as you should be able to in the country you reside, right? You would think that you pay your taxes, you served your country, you do the responsible thing as a citizen, you follow the laws of the land, and you think that your country's doing the best for you. Well, contrary, mon frere, that is not the case, and we're going to find out with Scott Ritter. Keep playing.
4 years ago, and we're handing all that off to the next team, as well as having the engines of American power humming, our economy, our technology, our defense industrial base, our supply chains. So the United States is in a stronger, more secure position, and our competitors and adversaries are weaker and under pressure. I think that's the main handoff that we will make.
China's weaker, Iran's weaker, Russia's weaker. What is he talking about?
It's just nonsense, 100% nonsense, and he knows it. The shame here isn't that Sullivan's saying this. You expect him to say that. He's the national security advisor to the president. His job is to politicize everything, to make sure that the national security is subordinated to the political objectives of the president of the United States. So he's going to lie, cheat, steal, spin, do what he does. You know, the problem is Jake Tapper. Where's the pushback? Where's the challenge? I mean, Mark Rutte, the Secretary General, just said if NATO doesn't get its act together in 3 to 5 years, all of Europe's going to have to learn to speak Russian. How does that sound like you're doing, Jake? If the Secretary General of NATO says we're so screwed because of how badly we're doing that if we don't fix it in 3 to 5 years, we have to speak Russian, that's a gross exaggeration. Russia's not moving in on Europe, but that's a mindset there. That doesn't sound like a NATO that's stronger than it's ever been. Gosh, Jake, didn't the Danish Prime Minister come out and say that if the United States moves in on Greenland as Trump will be president, Jake, you forget that, you're done on January 20th. Trump comes in Denmark saying that would be an invasion of NATO territory. We may have to go to NATO for Article 5. Why is a NATO member threatening?
And this is where you know that NATO has nothing without the U.S. Article 5 is Denmark has ownership, if you will, of the island Greenland. Put up a map of Greenland. We talked about it briefly last week. Greenland has a population of less than 58,000 people, and we all live on the south and west coast of the great island. Now, the thing about Greenland is that strategically, look at the map, it is an extension of North America as much as what's actually closer. So if Trump, in his mind, if he secures Greenland, look at the launching point that you can launch from. Because part of that coast is not all ice. You can now launch a missile or dock your subs, or you could build an airport there. You can build an airport there. And then from there, look at, you're pretty much straight, especially on the south coast, you're almost right level with Moscow. Look at that latitude line. Blow that map a little bit. Get on track with Moscow. There you go. Do the best you can. I like that. Look at the bottom of Greenland. That's the warmest part, right? And part of the coast is not all ice. If you create airports and naval substations, and you could do missile silos, right? If you do that, look at the line. If you take the bottom of Greenland, look at that line. It almost goes right to St. Petersburg, Russia, and Moscow. Yep. It is a lot easier to fight and defend, for that matter, from Greenland. And if you see right below Greenland, it says Denmark. So go back to that, rewind it a little bit. He said something. I'm going to show you why Esau is divided. Because they're the biggest hypocrites on the planet Earth. If you are saying that you want to touch, say they would have touched France, everybody, including the U.S., would fight that country. Article 5 would be invoked, right? Mm-hmm. Now you have Denmark, who's part of NATO, by the U.S., another member of NATO, saying that if they take them, Denmark is going to invoke Article 5, and NATO has to come to the rescue. They'll never do that. Nope. Because NATO is nothing without, the U.S. runs everything with NATO. They have nothing without NATO. As a matter of fact, Solomon was talking last week. The reason why we have bases in Germany, and by the way, a lot of the German people don't want us there, just so you know that, is because we kicked the hell out of them in World War II, and we should have stayed there for 15 to 20 years. We've been there ever since 1945. Even white countries have American, they don't want them there. So that's what you got to understand. This is why Revelation 7, get Revelation 17, verse 16. What you're seeing right now is going to cause this to come to pass. All right? Look, excellent. Look at that. Eight, and by the way, if you can find this on Google, you really think that they only have 845 bases? We can't be that stupid. There's probably more than 1,000, and there's some that are underneath cities. Some are smaller bases that are set up in ways that they could be masked as other commercial facilities and have layers, okay? They might not be advertised as that.
And you got your CIA agents and all the other special agents under contracts as well.
Right. And the U.S. embassies are also ports. They can use the Catholic Church. All of these things, they set up operations. Now, what do we wait? I'm sorry.
Revelation 17.
Yes, read that.
The book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast.
So the 10 horns, if I am a horn and I am on a beast, that means I'm a part of the beast. I'm connected. I'm a part of them. What's going to make the EU, aka the 10 common markets, what's going to make them hate Babylon the Great, which is the beast, the red dragon? What's going to cause them? Well, we're going over it right now. Now, Babylon wants to take one of the Denmark's land. Okay, look, Denmark's right there, the flag with the white cross, yep. Okay? And according to their laws, they have to come and fight America to defend Denmark according to the articles that all of those countries created, right? Now, go back to the video.
Hey, didn't the Danish prime minister come out and say that if the United States moves in on Greenland as Trump will be president, Jake, you forget that, you're done on January 20th. Trump comes in Denmark saying that would be an invasion of NATO territory. We may have to go to NATO for Article 5. Why is a NATO member threatening to put Article 5 against the United States if we're so damn close and unified? NATO is falling apart. Did you not see the elections that just took place in the Czech Republic? A president now is dead set against this war in Ukraine, dead set against sending military equipment.
Pause, do me a favor, pull up the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic is a country in Eastern Europe. Why is this so important? Because the next president to come in is against the war with Russia, meaning they're not siding with the Ukraine. They want to get aligned with Russia. Pull up a map, and also I want to see the Czech Republic. It's in Eastern Europe. In Poland and many of these other countries who are close to Russia, they're not benefiting at all from NATO. They're getting hurt. Without these sanctions, with open relationships and trade to Russia, their lives are exponentially better. So, you have, okay. So this is a very important country because it borders Germany and Poland. Then you've got Slovakia and Hungary. Hungary, we talked about Hungary. Romania, that's where my man Andrew Tate's going through all his crap. Then you got Moldova and you got Ukraine. Belarus is already siding with Russia, okay? So when you look at these different areas, these are very important parts of the earth. Why? Because they're right on line with Russia. Now, look up, y'all, Baltic Sea. I got to keep saying this. It's very important. Right. When you look at the Baltic Sea, all right, when you look at St. Petersburg, Russia, which is the Gulf of Finland, up above there, that pipeline called the Nord Stream 2 ran underneath the Baltic Sea down right to Germany. Now, I think I don't know which port it goes into. So when you got rid of that, that was the supply line, the most direct supply line that supplied all of Northern Europe, and it channeled down and it helped Germany's economy. Now, real quick. Give me the article. I have to go there real quick. About Chinese car companies buying out German, pause this, I forget which one is, this came to me.
Because I think they was talking about how they didn't want, somebody mentioned that they didn't want any more gas vehicles in Germany. They was moving everything to electric, if I'm not mistaken. And that's part of what China is slowly taking over everything.
I think it's number 9. So it's an article. Now, I want you to understand this, right? 3 years ago, this was not happening. Why? Germany's economy was thriving. As soon as that relationship stopped between Russia, Germany's economy, within about a year and a half, they went into recession. Germany was the strongest economy in all of Europe. How do you think the German people feel right now? They're struggling to eat. Their bread is higher. Their milk is higher. Their gas is higher. Car companies are closed down. If a car company closed down, hundreds of jobs are lost. These people are like, we got to get the hell out of NATO. And it's like grassroots is spreading up. Okay? And guess if it's happening in Germany, it's happening in Poland. And they're all like, they're looking, we should be with Russia. What the hell is going on? And all that's going to happen. It's going to happen. This year, you're going to see. Y'all better get ready. We are going to see some. Donald Trump is right. He said this is the most important presidency in U.S. history, and he's right. We're going to see things in the first 100 days of Donald Trump. You're going to see some things. It's happening right now. Let's read that.
Chinese buyers interested in unwanted German Volkswagen factories, source says. Frankfurt, Berlin, Chinese officials and automakers are eyeing German factories slated for closure and are particularly interested in Volkswagen sites.
So real quick, it doesn't say German factory, it says German factories, because German factories are closing down. Why is it important? Because for years, Volkswagen, I think Audi, many of the big elite European cars are German. You ever heard the saying when I was a kid, you can't beat German engineering? You ever heard that?
Yes, sir.
German engineering. My brother was, he went to Gulf War I, and he was stationed in Germany, and he bought a BMW over there because it was very inexpensive, and he brought it back here. There's a thing called an Autobahn in Germany, where you go on. You probably been to something, right?
I lived in Germany for 3 years.
Tell us about it.
So, in Germany, their taxis, they have taxis that are Audis, that are BMWs, that are Mercedes, and I mean these are not any just any slouch type vehicle. You would get in the vehicle, and you'd be like, man, you got the leather seats and everything. And it's like, man, this is a taxi. But, of course, here in America, we're looking at Mercedes and BMW like, hey, this is the top of the line, right? So we would be there, and you would see the cars. You'd be on the Autobahn, and they just flying, woof, and they come past you, and your car shakes. So for this situation to happen with, with China getting ready to buy Volkswagen, because they got Volkswagen, they got the Mini Cooper, they have a lot. They have cars over there that I can't even remember the names of them, but they're really, really good cars. They're very good cars. And actually, they got a lot of them from Ford. They got a lot of them from Ford over there. But they're German manufactured, and I'm telling you, this what's coming out right here is very important. It's very, very important.
So why is this important? Because, again, we've done shows in the past 2-3 years, really 3 years ago, with which we talked about the economies of Europe and how strong Germany was at the time. So a company that builds an Autobahn, they want to show off their luxury cars. They, like Solomon said, taxis are Audis and Benzes, right? And when you hear the term German engineering, that's what they're known for. And how do they become such good German engineers and have the technology? Because their cost of fuel and their natural gas was very inexpensive. Russia was all of their friends. Russia charged a low cost for fuel. These people are struggling. A lot of these folks, a lot of these Caucasians in these European countries are catching hell right now economically. Okay, read on, Zadai.
All right. A person with knowledge of Chinese government thinking told Reuters, buying a factory would allow China to build influence in Germany's prized auto industry, home to some of the oldest and most prestigious car brands, the person said. Chinese companies have invested across a range of industries in Europe's biggest economy, from telecommunications to robotics, but they have yet to set up traditional car manufacturing there, despite Mercedes-Benz having 2 large Chinese shareholders. Any such move could mark China's most politically sensitive investment yet. The VW has long been a symbol of Germany's industrial prowess, now threatened by a global economic slowdown hitting demand and creaking transition to green technologies.
Stop. Why is there a global economic slowdown? Because of what the United States of America has done through the proxy war, using NATO as a front through Ukraine to try to destroy Russia. As a result of that, they blew the Nord Stream pipeline. As a result of that, they put over 16,000 sanctions on Russia. Russia was banned. They banned a lot of these European countries from doing business with them. Now they have to buy their goods and services from where? Other places that are a lot more expensive. A lot more expensive.
Cap, you know, this is kind of funny because remember, America got all of the chips and stuff for their cars from China. Not China trying to buy up Germany cars and stuff. And where they ship their stuff? To America. So they're going to get hit double whammy, especially if Trump talk about these tariffs that he's trying to get. So not only is China buying up German cars now, now they got the chips and German cars. So that's going to be a double whammy on America.
Yep. We just want y'all to see this is why when you have your head wrapped around America's digestible media, you're being spoon-fed. You're not being told what you need to hear. You got to look at other sources. You have to search. I have to search and search. I do hours of searching, and then finally I find one thing which leads to another. It'd be nice if the big 4 news stations told you everything you need to hear to stay informed. It would be nice, okay? So that's it on that. Just know that China is multiple. This, by the way, this is an article from today, okay? Multiple avenues open up where they're going to be able to go in and secure factories, secure car plants in the alleged or former strongest economy in all of Europe. By the way, it was the 4th or 5th most strongest economy in the earth, Germany. Now China's coming in and they're having opportunities now, okay? Now, Germany was the 3rd? Pull it up. Wow, I did not know that. So Germany used to be the 3rd largest economy on the earth. Damn. I didn't. Look at it.
China and Germany.
You can see the map, the bar graph. So the U.S. is killing it, right? Okay. Germany, well, it's coming down. But Germany, look at Germany. Germany is right there. Okay, so this is a couple months ago.
And really, honestly, Cap, Japan's economy is really hurting because they trying to bump up America's dollar when it's really trash. So Japan really hurting, trying to follow after America.
Japan, and that's exactly what they run the same stock markets. They're very similar. They don't even dress in a traditional garb. They wear business suits just like America. They are America's puppet. With go back to Scott Ritter, because stay on the same point.
Overturned illegally because they elected a president who said the same thing. Hungary and Slovakia are out. Germany is about to elect a new government, the AfD, that's out of the EU and maybe out of NATO. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Real quick, what he just said was, in case you missed it, he's kind of animated right now. He said Germany has just elected a new president who is wanting to get out of the EU. Can you rewind that just about 10 seconds? He said it real fast. So the world's third largest economy, the largest in all of Europe, has a new president that wants them out of the EU. Why is this not on all the nightly news?
Hey, Cap.
Bring it out.
You remember last week when we was going over the article with the I think she was Vietnamese, Dr. Nguyen, and she was giving some good information about Germany and how they were actually feeling about the NATO and wanting to get out of that whole situation and system with NATO. So this is actually everything is tying together now.
And she was a doctor. Remember that. So she was a doctor, and the ear on the street, if you will, layman's term, is that the German people are tired. They knew life was better before. Germany is very close to Russia, comparatively speaking, to the U.S. They have much more in common culturally and geography-wise than the U.S.
Yeah, Germany always had a relationship with Russia, always. And all of a sudden, America is just, whatever they're going to do whatever they can to take advantage of it.
I could touch on something right quick.
Yes.
With Jake Sullivan, the guy who was giving that false propaganda earlier. That's scriptural. Can I bring out a scripture on what Jake Sullivan was doing?
Yes, bring it out.
1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 3. His job when he got on CNN was to calm the American people, to distract you from the actual dumpster fire that's actually happening in the world right now. America's on fire, literally and spiritually. All right? You can go ahead and read that for me, Os.
This is the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 3. For when they say peace and safety.
He said they're going to say peace and safety. That's everything's okay. We're having a smooth transition. The economy is doing great. We're going to have a ceasefire. All of these things to try to calm your minds, to put you to rock you back to sleep. Read on.
Then sudden destruction cometh upon them.
That's how we know the destruction is coming. That's why God said, don't listen to what they're saying, because what they're saying is lies to distract you. But destruction is coming to this place. I'm mute my mic.
That's heavy. That's a hell of a point, because that's exactly what's going on. And many of these Edomites are up in arms, and they're worried about the Third World War. We're not worried about it. We know these things are going to happen. As a matter of fact, you should be rejoicing, because that means that us, the Israelites, in our deliverance, conditional deliverance, we're not saved yet like the Christian church teaches you. We're not saved yet. He that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. It's an endurance, and it is hard. We have to keep fighting. That's why Paul said, I die daily. We got to kill off the old person that's in us, the old man, the old woman. Play on. We're going to move on.
3. And Slovakia are out. Germany is about to elect a new government, the AfD, that's out of the EU and maybe out of NATO. He doesn't know what he's talking about. NATO is a fundamentally broken institution that can't afford to continue and will collapse within 5 years. That's the NATO that Jake Sullivan's turning over to Donald Trump. And then we can go on and on and on. There's not a single point in the globe today where America's doing better than we were before. I'll tell you what, Jake, when you came in, Iran wasn't 3 days away from having a nuclear bomb. But because of you, Jake, you're the national security advisor. It's your responsibility. They are on the cusp of having it if a political decision is made. How did we get to this point, Jake? How do we get to the point where Iran has ballistic missiles that are threatening Israel, and Israel can't do anything to defend it because your Iron Dome that you worked with Israel didn't work? Syria fell, but is it what you wanted, Jake? Did you really want Al-Qaeda to take over? Have you thought about the consequences? Or are you just brain dead like everybody else in the national security establishment? You don't know what to do about Turkey now, do you, Jake? And I think, Jake, you had some conversations. We talked about maybe we have to expel Turkey from NATO. How does that make NATO look, Jake? Strong? And gosh, Asian alliances? Indonesia just joined BRICS.
Pause.
Malaysia.
We covered that last week. Indonesia, which is a huge economy, just joined BRICS, not as a partner nation, as a full-fledged nation. This guy here is Esau, like the other 3 videos we showed at the beginning. Esau's house is divided.
Yep.
It's divided, man. Now that's not. Now there's a 10th member. So there's actually 9, but there's 10. Indonesia makes 10. Where's Indonesia at? It's the island. It's orange, I think, right? Yeah, and those are a group of islands, okay? Very, very large economy. That's the South China Sea, huge waterway. So BRICS is rising up. And as a result of that, the 2 powerhouses, actually 3 powerhouses, China, Russia, and India. India is a huge population of people.
Yep.
Great math science. They've got nuclear technology, just like the European Union nations. Now, wow, it's already 10:30. Go back to Ritter, because I got a lot to get to. We got a lot to get to.
Cap, Scott Ritter is red as his shirt right now. That Esau coming to the forefront.
I'm tell you, Scott Ritter. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna treat this dude like Rahab, man. Rahab the harlot, because he's all right. We could have a little money. He ain't gonna change the status, but he is somebody's either mindset fed up with their system. Ain't gonna change the fact that they're going into captivity. Just like no matter, we could, as the Israelites, we could try to say, yep, we were wrong for breaking God's. Yep, you was wrong. Now your ass going into slavery.
Right, that's right.
Now, play on. Okay.
Philippines are saying, the hell with America, we're going that way too. South Korea, this bastion of democracy, is getting ready to impeach and arrest their president for illegally calling for martial law. How's democracy looking in South Korea? And Japan's just a basket case of a nation. What happens?
Pause. That's what Officer Thomas said earlier. They're a basket case of a nation because they replicate and follow the United States policy and everything. Okay? Now, let's finish this off. Go ahead.
Cap, I got a question. So how is that going to work out when the U.S. is a part of South Korea? There's a U.S. military installation in South Korea.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I never went to South Korea. I never got stationed there, but I knew a lot of people that had been there. And they do a lot of training. They talk about the DMZ right there next to North Korea, and the demilitarization zone.
Right.
Right next to North Korea. So, I mean, that's gonna be real
So when
heavy.
you talk to the Korean people, right? The Korean people are one people, and what Donald Trump was trying to do, and I think it was Scott Ritter or McGregor said this, that right now the 4-star generals that are over there are U.S. generals. The South Koreans want to put an Asian South Korean, and I hate to say it, be a man with slanted eyes, a real Asian South Korean general, and the U.S. will not allow it. They don't want the U.S. They want to have the U.S. leave and then them take over. Same thing with Germany, even though they're other Caucasians. They don't want the U.S. there. They'd like them to leave and then create all German bases. Mm-hmm. The U.S. is the whore that sitteth upon many waters. That's why in Isaiah said, is this the man that did wicked nations? Yeah. Right. This is, I'm telling you, this is, if you can't, give me that Isaiah 14.
Yes, sir.
Because we probably talk about this scripture a lot, but this in Revelation chapter 17 talk about this whore and this evil force in the earth.
It just show you that the Bible is a true book. I mean, we literally showing you how the 10 horns is going to be divided. Why they going to hate the whole. We watching it right now. All of the things that America is doing, this is the reason why they're going to be hated. Right.
So get me.
You want 16 or you want to start up?
Let's start with 11.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, 12.
Yes, sir. The book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 12.
No, I'm sorry. Go to 4 and then jump to 11.
Yes, sir. The book of Isaiah, chapter 14 and verse 4. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon.
Is this talking about the king of Babylon during the time of Nebuchadnezzar? Or is this talking about the king of Babylon the Great? Read on.
How hath the oppressor ceased?
How has the oppressor ceased?
The golden city ceased.
The golden city. That's the same golden cup in Revelation. Read.
Verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer?
That's still talking about the white man. Okay, and he's going to tell you he's a man. Read on.
Son of the morning, how art thou cut down to the ground, which did weakenest the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God.
That's why, remember, the Wright brothers, they first started to fly, then the Sputnik, and all the other spacecraft that was done by Edomite nations. They're the ones that said these things. Read on.
I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation.
That's when he had the Israelites in slavery and was still stuck, and he has his foot on her neck right now to this day. Read on.
In the sides of the north.
Right. Primarily North America. That's where all this is going down right now in North America. That's why Trump wants Canada and Greenland. All that's going on right now. The most 845 listed bases, all out of the land of the north. All of that. Read.
I will ascend above the heights of the clouds.
Now, give me the part where it says, is this the man? Did we get that yet?
Verse 16. Verse 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee.
Right now, they don't narrowly look they look with fear. Well, you know what that means? If I look narrowly, this is what I'm doing. But if I'm scared of you, I'm doing this. That's not narrowly looking at them. This is after you realize it, you're like, this dude? That's what's going on. America is going to be weakened. Right now, everybody's wide-eyed. Okay? Now, wait, this guy? They're sizing him up. And guess what? The EU is pulling apart. The Danish, the Danish from Denmark, the prime minister made a statement that if the U.S. tries to take Greenland, it will evoke Article 5 of NATO. That is Revelation 17 right there. Now, are they going to do it? Well, that's what's going to cause a beef between them. Read on.
And consider thee, saying, is this the man?
What man?
That made the earth to tremble.
What man made the earth to tremble? Well, let's start first with World War I and World War II when he dropped the Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bombs. Okay? They firebombed the hell out of all the Japanese islands. Furthermore, why did World War III get avoided during the Cuban Missile Crisis? They were going to blow up the whole earth at the time. The United States of America is the man. Okay? Is the man. Read on.
That did shake kingdoms.
And they shake every kingdom. They weaken every kingdom they go to. Read on.
That made the world as a wilderness.
Right. And look what they're doing in Gaza right now. The white man is destroying the whole Gaza Strip. Okay? And what we're saying is true. It's not one-sided. It's not propaganda. It's not trying to spin a tale. It's a fact. These are facts we're telling you. All right? Is that enough with Scott Ritter? Okay.
And that little tripartite alliance that you made collapses because it's going to collapse, Jake, because nothing you did in the Biden administration is made out of bricks and mortar. Everything you did is made out of straw, and the big bad wolf's going to come in and huff and puff and blow it all down. That's the reality of Jake Sullivan's world. But Jake Tapper didn't have the journalistic integrity to even push back.
Now, so you just checked it out. You're on now. Do me a favor. I'm going to show you about Trump. Okay, actually, get seven. Get seven's quick. So this is I like this guy. He's a former CIA operative, and it's only 53 seconds. He's going to tell you about America's decline in one of the BRICS nations' ascension to the top. Remember, this guy is a CIA former operative. Very, very high IQ, very, very intelligent. If you can watch, he does other interviews where he talks about CIA operatives and what they do, what the mission of the CIA is. And he's given an analysis, a very quick and accurate analysis, according to him, of what he's worried about. As an American, looking out in the world where his country is not showing the people what it should play.
The most concerning thing to me is definitely the fact that China has gotten to a place, specifically with China. The most significant thing about China is that it's gotten to a place where it has the potential to direct next steps in Europe. Hypersonic missiles, Huawei, rare earth minerals, Belt Road Initiative, they're involved in all sorts of stuff.
So real quick,
that
rare earth minerals, we did a show. China is one of the leading producers of rare earth minerals. They are used in production of microchips for both military technology and regular technology, tech stuff, right? Also, the Beltway Initiative, they're working with, matter of fact, pause this. I got a video that talks about Iran. Iran and Russia this week just signed a 20-year pact. Why isn't this being talked about? The country that is destroying Ukraine, the one that U.S. fears the most, and Iran, who has nuclear capabilities that they're planning to attack soon, just made a pact. There's Vladimir Putin, and there is the head of Iran. I don't know if that's it. I don't think that's their supreme leader. I think it's a representative. Is it a video or is it a? Yeah, this is a video. Did I timestamp it?
Is this deal strong enough to withstand an American response?
I think that Russia.
Real quick, I got to preface this. This guy right here, heavy Russian accent. So bear with him. Heavy Russian accent. What's being brought out right now in here is the exact opposite of what the U.S. wanted to happen when they planned this with NATO, the guys of NATO, with the proxy war of Ukraine. I would be quiet.
During the last 3 years, proved to Americans, proved to Europeans that no sanctions are working. They are working against the interests of Europe, European countries at all. They are ruining European economy, but not Russian economy. Russia benefit from these sanctions. First of all, it returns production inside. And many branches of industry that were destroyed during the last 30 years after the destruction of the Soviet Union now are recovering as a result of American policy. So in some way we can thank American policy of sanctions policy against Russia because it proved to Russian liberal circles, ruling circles, that there is no way to collaborate with the West on the same way that it was collaboration we saw during the last 30 years. So I think that Russian economy is healthy. Russian economy now is developing and productive, and production is on a very good level. I think that it is a good signal for all other countries to watch what means independent development of economy, Russian economy.
Real quick, very good. That was the end of it. I want you to go back and play the last 30 seconds. I want you to listen to what he said. He says something. He said, other countries should watch because he's showing them that what America did backfired.
Yep.
And this is why is this important? Because they never show you anything positive or anything about Russia other than that Ukraine's actually winning, which they're getting decimated.
And Cap, you remember it's an independent man. I can't Carl. What his name is? Carl Tucker. Chris Tucker.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. Yeah. He was the one that did an interview with Vladimir Putin.
Yep.
He went to Russia. He went in their grocery stores. Yep. He shopped around. Their economy is doing real good over there. They got fresh food, real food over there, so they're not hurting over there in Russia. They're doing exactly. They're actually doing better than America.
So when you look at the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, and they had a huge industry. What he was saying is that a lot of the industries from the early 90s are reawakening. Not because we wanted to, we had to, so we could make in-house, because we couldn't trade with certain nations, which, like Officer Thomas said, they increased their economy. This is why they have the military infrastructure, because they are in line with China. They can get a lot of rare earth materials. Why? BRICS is a partner country. So despite all the sanctions put upon them, they're still trading with India, the largest population on the planet Earth. They're still trading heavily with China, their neighbor and the largest manufacturer export of the entire planet Earth. Look at in your house, everything's made in China. 8 out of 10 things that we buy or more are made in China.
You know what, Cap? Also, too, when you look at the screen, it had Tehran, so which was Iran. They had Moscow, and they also had Munich. Munich is part of Germany. So Germany's paying attention to what's going on as well. So that's going to be even more reason for them to want to fall in line with Russia.
That's a fact. And this is what McGregor says a little bit later on. Did you get to that? Where are we at on that? Okay. I want you to play the last 30 seconds, though. I want you to listen to him again, the last 30 seconds of the guy from Russia, from Moscow, Russia.
During the last 30 years. So I think that Russian economy is healthy. Russian economy now is developing, and productive and production is on a very good level. I think that it is a good signal for all other countries to watch what means independent development of economy, Russian economy.
Marina, this
So he's saying, look, we don't need the U.S. Even if you get sanctioned, we can get our own economy thriving and going. Russia did it. We can help you too. And that's what's going on. Man, I don't know if you remember about 4 months ago, maybe 3 months, Putin went around and did a tour of Asia. He went to Vietnam. I don't know if you remember. He went to Vietnam.
Yes, sir.
He visited all the countries around Asia, because he made a statement. He said, I realize now my friends are not in the West. Our friends are in the East, which are all the Eastern European countries, which is why Czechoslovakia and Germany, the incoming presidents, are looking to get out of NATO. The people have been, I don't know if you remember this, we did show after show after show that during the beginning of the war, you had all of Madrid, Spain, all these countries had huge protests, even before the farmers' protests, remember?
Yes, sir.
About NATO, gotta go. They were shouting that in the streets by hundreds of thousands of people, saying the people want out of NATO. Okay, the people were saying that. So now, get the next, I'm sorry, let's go back, run out of time. Go to, no, we got an intermission. No, get me, before we do that, before we go, go to number 5. I think this is short. This is number 5. And here's a discussion before we go to break about Denmark, Greenland, and the U.S. Now watch what's going on.
Denmark says it's ready to talk with the incoming Trump administration about security concerns in the Arctic. The Danish foreign minister made the announcement during a visit to Israel. He says Copenhagen shares Donald Trump's concerns about the region and pledged to coordinate future discussions with Greenland to protect American interests.
What we are doing right now is to getting into a more detailed dialogue with the incoming president. I think, and we agree that the Americans have certain concerns about the security situation in the Arctic, which we share. And therefore, in close cooperation with Greenland, we are ready to continue talks with the incoming president in order to ensure, I would say, legitimate American interests.
Let's look at why Greenland is emerging as a critical player in global politics. Situated near the Arctic Circle, it serves as a gateway to the Arctic that has been transformed by rapidly melting.
Now, a lot of times the Arctic Ocean is frozen, certain parts of it. But through global warming, which it is a real thing, some of those waterways are actually more passable. I'll put it like that. So if you look, and I was looking more latitudinally, launching a missile sideways, right? Like a latitude line. But it's even closer if they were to go to, say, more northern Greenland and clear, missile silos and get things set up there. Look at if they launched it, if you think about Greenland being to the south, if they went up and over the Arctic Circle, look how much short of a pathway a missile would be to get to Russia.
Right.
It is a huge strategic advantage. I wasn't even thinking about that until he showed this. Because with that, missiles, it doesn't matter if it's super cold that they got ice. A missile is rocket propelled and it's going to go. So it is a very, very strategic position for not just launching from Europe, but to fight Russia and even China. Okay, it's a much shorter path if you fired missiles from Greenland to get to China, which China is below on looks like the north side of Russia right there. It's actually south if you turn the map on the other way around, as opposed to launching from California going all the way across the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
It is a huge strategic what's the word I'm looking for?
Military?
Yes, military advantage, not example.
Because
advantage.
like you're saying, Cap, you know what I'm saying? It just shows you how weak and how desperate America is getting to want to have to take over something like Greenland. Is already a NATO ally. What's the point if you're strong already?
That's a hell of a point. If NATO is your ally, and Denmark is a little teeny little country that could fit, you could fit about 20 of them in the state of Texas. If you were really worried about that, look at Denmark. Look how small it is. You see that little? That's Denmark, that little dot of a country, which sits right in the Baltic Sea, right there below Norway and Sweden, right? That controls that. The U.S., they control all of NATO. So like Thomas says, what do you care? Your boys own that. So let us just use the base. We'll give you a couple $1 million a year to use your land, no problem. No, this is bigger than that.
Right.
They're preparing for war, not just with Russia. I hope y'all see that.
Yes, sir.
I hope y'all see that some of these guys understand the Bible. Some of these elites, they understand Revelation, okay? Not like the Israelites, but they understand. They can see the writing. They know the signs at a time, and they know, and they can watch and they can track European politics in these different countries that are looking to disband NATO.
Yes,
okay?
sir. And Cap, to your point, when you look at where Greenland is, and just like Officer Thomas was saying about it's closer to being able to launch to China, then you have Alaska that's over to the west.
Right.
And that's closer to Russia. So they have to be strategically placed in order to take over Russia and China to be able to attack them, because they're the most major threat. And like he said, instead of having to go across the Pacific Ocean, they can just go right over the Arctic and into China.
And like Solomon said, now you can attack on two fronts. If you remember, the Bering Strait during the so-called Ice Age actually froze up, and Alaska basically is very, very, very close to the most eastern part of Russia. So you could launch missiles, and we have military bases in Anchorage, Alaska, and other parts of Alaska.
Right.
You could launch missiles from Alaska. You could launch missiles from Greenland.
Right.
You could also launch missiles from California. So all these things, and Trump is also talking about the Panama Canal. He wants to take over the whole doggone section. If you look at Greenland, Canada, U.S., Alaska, it is such a huge, vast area.
Right.
Okay? He wants to control all of that. Putin, on the other hand, wants to unite. He doesn't just want to unite Russia. He wants to unite all of doggone Eurasia, which is Europe and Asia, all of that. And a lot of them want to do it. Okay? So, with that, stick around. We're going to go to the break. We're running a little bit late. We come back. We're going to last about 45 minutes of the show. Stick around, y'all. Shalom.
Hey, shalom, Israel, Most High in Christ bless. My name is Captain Shem, IUIC New Orleans. Help us to grow. YouTube page, subscribe, like, share, hit the bell notification. And now it's even easier, y'all.
Hey, and also part of New Orleans camp, we got the community cleanups. Cleaning up our neighborhood one at a time.
What y'all waiting for? Subscribe.
What are you waiting for? Subscribe! There's so much wrong going on in the world, but somehow we keep it all smile.
Subscribe and follow us on all social media accounts. We got TikTok, we got Twitter, we got Rumble, and YouTube. Make sure y'all follow IUIC New Orleans. Shalom.
Hey, also, we got flyer missions every day and also camp videos. Check us out, IUIC New Orleans.
So remember, go to our YouTube page, subscribe, like, share, and don't forget the QR code. When the QR code comes out, don't forget to take your phone out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Why isn't it done? Shalom, Israel.
Have a good time, that's what we say.
Dang, what's this, man? Land blitz. Dang, I gotta tell somebody about this, bro.
Hey, bro, come here. Check this out. Hey.
Mmm.
Bruh.
Shit.
Bruh.
Hey, y'all, guess what? Y'all ain't gonna believe this. Donald Trump is giving us our 40 acres and a mule. Yeah, 40 acres and a mule.
Acres and a mule. You know the donkey? The ass, man.
He's giving it to us.
Land blitz.
Say what, bro? Land blitz. 40 acres, land blitz, 40 acres. Look, y'all, look. No 40 acres in the mule, but check this out. It's going to be a land blitz. March 2025, man. That's what it is, man.
Hey, Israel, shalom. Welcome back to Precept Upon Precept. We are now going to take a look and revisit our thumbnail for tonight's show. Officer Zadiah, you explained it before. Explain it again for the folks that may just have logged on or started to watch.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On this thumbnail, we have Christ sitting in the forefront, looking down upon the chessboard. If anybody knows anything about chess, you move pieces in position to trap the king. And that's what is happening right now. America's being put in position to be trapped, being set up by the Most High. We have Donald J. Trump to the right, standing in front of the American flag, representing the United States of America. To the far left-hand corner, you have the war and peace switch. And that switch is on war at this time, because that's what's going on. We have wars around all the nations. We also have Christ wearing his green and gold barrel. That's what we know he's going to return in. And what we have is the day of Trump's reign approaches, the Most High to move men.
And that's what the Most High is doing. He's moving men. He's moving men to fight wars. He's putting in their heart. He's putting a nation. The Edomite nation is divided. They have a thing called NATO and the EU, and we showed you in the first part of the show that it is fallen apart, okay? It is divided, while BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, now 5 other full-fledged nations to include Indonesia, Iran, Egypt, and others, as well as multiple partner nations, is rising their economy, okay? Now, get me.
So, Cap, can I get a script real quick based on the thumbnail that we just watched? Let me get Job chapter 30.
Man.
So, the Bible right here is letting you know that God is greater than man. All right? Let's find out some more. Read on.
Why dost thou strive against him?
Why do you strive against God? Come on.
For he giveth not account of any of his matters.
He don't have the answer to none of us. He don't have to give an account for what he does. Read on.
For God speaketh once, yea, twice.
Read.
Yet man perceive it not.
God, he spoke in this Bible. He's letting everybody know what's going to go on, what's going to happen. But man still don't perceive it. They can't understand what's really going on. They won't understand it. Read on.
In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, and slumberings upon the bed. Then he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instruction.
See, just like Cap was saying, he was explaining that the Most High is moving their hearts. Just like that chessboard that we saw on the thumbnail. The Most High is putting everything in place. He's moving all these pieces. He's moving men. That'll be my mic.
Get me Romans chapter 9.
Yes, sir.
Because, again, with Pharaoh had counselors around him. You don't think, and some of them were telling him, we should just let them go. And despite all of that, Pharaoh could not, because God controlled his heart. You don't think that some of these Israeli generals and some of these, Mr. Netanyahu, the Iron Dome is not working. Send more bombs over to Gaza. And the Arabs are getting irate, and they're coming together. And in addition to that, you have the Ukraine war that's being fought. You have Israel doing all this dirt throughout the land. You have the United States in every country, every military base throughout the earth, and still trying to cause division, even with this Greenland thing as of late. Read that.
The book of Romans, chapter 7, verse 9.
I'm sorry, chapter 9.
Yes, sir.
It's the part where he talks about,
I think you're wrong with verse 17.
11 or something like that.
About Pharaoh?
Yes.
Verse 17.
The book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 17. For the scriptures said unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee.
And that's the point, because he's raising up, according to Jeremiah, the least of the flock is going to draw him out. When that happens, God is going to use this man to show his power. on the earth. That's why it's happening. And as much as you try to vote it out, you think that you vote, and a lot of people really do trust in Trump. You think Trump is going to save America? You think Trump is going to give us out all these problems? When I say us, I'm talking about people that live in America, right? It's not going to happen. God is going to harden the hearts of certain men, visit them in his sleep, like Officer Solomon brought out, and change their moves for the next day. They could have an intention set for one thing. God is going to make things happen completely different. And this is the power of the scriptures. Read on.
And that my name might be declared throughout all the earth.
So that his name may be declared throughout all of the earth. Now, that's it. Jump to the next. It is number. What does 6 say? Yes. Okay. This has two timestamps. The first timestamp is going to go on about a particular, I forget the guy's name. He goes on to talk about the history of the Middle East and Netanyahu and his tactics of cunning deceit. And Trump actually, what we're about to watch, remember, Trump is watched and followed by many millions of people on social media, right? Yep. He's not just the president, he's a very big social media presence. When you remember they got on my man, the black brother that plays for the basketball team, Kyrie Irving. Yeah. All he did is retweet or repost. He just looked at it and resent it, and they were trying to end his career for something, right? Mm-hmm. Donald Trump retweeted something about Benjamin Netanyahu, and I think we might have showed parts of it, but this is a little bit better clip. Watch, he's about to go deep. It's the first timestamp, and then we'll go to the next one in a minute.
Unexpected. I think we should expect the unexpected these next 4 years with Trump in office, but apparently he is forcing Netanyahu to come to an agreement, a hostage agreement between Israel and Hamas. And he apparently strong-armed. Now, this is surprising because as he was campaigning and shortly after he won the election, he was saying things about Hamas better release the hostages or all hell's going to break loose. In fact, watch this.
Aren't back. I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into...
You see that guy right there? Later on, this guy right here, that's Trump's boy right there. He's a real estate tycoon and attorney, and he's from the Bronx, New York. Trump is a New York guy. Have you ever heard about Trump? Trump is a New York guy. Trump is not stupid. The Mossad gonna use this guy. Trump's like, I can trust this guy. He's from New York. He's gonna make America great again. He sends this guy later on in the next clip to go over there, and you're gonna see it's. I'm telling you, man, Mossad, you're gonna use Trump. You're gonna use Trump. You're gonna see what's gonna happen. Play on.
All hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is.
Yeah, so all hell was going to break loose. All of us were thinking, great, it's just Biden 2.0. Miriam Adelson was able to buy him for $100 million, and now Israel just basically owns the country, and they could do whatever they want.
So the reason when they say buy someone, is it OPEC, which is the Israeli lobbyist that gives tens of millions of dollars to congressmen and people of the House of Representatives, all of the political structures. Is it APEC or OPEC? I can't remember. It's APEC. They pay millions of dollars to political officials in the United States. Now, what are we doing real quick? Yeah, go back. So now they're going to show you the clip of what Donald Trump on his social retweeted or reshared, whatever it's called. Watch this guy about to drop something.
Seems to be coming down the pipeline right now, shortly after they want. But then we saw some strange developments before we get into the actual hostage agreement that it seems to be coming down the pipeline right now. Shortly after Trump starts talking strongman like this, Palestinians better watch out is what it sounds like. He then shares on his Truth Social this video clip of, this is of Jeffrey Sachs. And he retweets this, or retweets it.
So he retweets or reposted of Jeffrey Sachs. This guy is I believe he's a professor. And he knows the history dating back to before the 90s. And he is about to go in on Netanyahu. And Trump, the incumbent president of the United States, who's sworn in the next week, retweeted or reshared this post about Netanyahu. Play.
I guess is what they say. But watch this video he shared.
The war in Syria. And you may actually hear from grown-up reporters who are lying through their teeth or ignorant beyond imagining that, oh, the war in Syria, yes, Russia intervened in Syria. Well, do you know that that Obama tasked the CIA to overthrow the Syrian government, starting 4 years before Russia intervened? What kind of nonsense is that? And how many times did the New York Times report on Operation Timber Sycamore, which was the presidential order to the CIA to overthrow Bashar al-Assad? 3 times in 10 years. This is not democracy.
So that goes to it was like 2 shows ago, when you was talking, when you put in the video of the guy who said they go into the governments and they take over, they train them in and to go over through the government. That's exactly what this man is talking about right now. So it just goes to show you everything that we bringing out, they following up with it.
Right. So that was a guy named Tim Kennedy. He's a former Delta Force operator in Green Beret. Green Berets are special operations called force multipliers. They go into countries and they literally take over governments. They've done it in Central America and South America. They do it in other places. And then they go and they, with funding that the U.S. gives them, they set up and create a resistance force and train their troops in small and large weapon assault, all that, close combat. They train them in all that. Now, the thing that's, like Thomas said, is very, very important, is that Barack Hussein Obama, the Black Hope Moses, they called him in the black community, he ordered the toppling of Syria's Assad's government when he was in the office from 2008 to what, 2016? 8 years, right? Yep. But they're not talking about that. But yet they want to act like Russia's over there. What the U.S. did was so much worse than what Russia was over there after Iran. So the point is, this guy is telling everything about everything he's saying, and everything you're hearing now up to the end is all about Netanyahu. Play on.
This is a game, and it's a game of narrative. Why did the U.S. invade Iraq in 2003? Well, first of all, it was completely phony pretenses. It wasn't, oh, we were so wrong, they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. They actually did focus groups in the fall of 2002 to find out what would sell.
Remember, in the beginning of the show, Officer Thomas said something. He said about, you got to scare the American people and make them think that they're in danger, right? This is Esau telling on Esau, and this guy, he's credible. And Donald Trump, the president coming in next week, reshared this. Everybody got their eyes on Trump now. He made this guy household. Watch this. Watch what he says.
Or to the American people. Abe Shulsky, if you want to know the name of the PR genius. They did focus groups on the war. They wanted the war all the time. They had to figure out how to sell the war to the American people, how to scare the shit out of the American people. It was a phony war. Where did that war come from? You know what? It's quite surprising. That war came from Netanyahu, actually.
Pause. Everything he just said, that war came from Netanyahu. Now, remember before, at the beginning, Trump had his advisor, the real estate that was sitting to his right, and he said, look, I don't want to mess up your negotiations. Mm-hmm. He said that. Mm-hmm. Now, we're the next timestamp, pull up, do me a favor. I want you to pull up the name Stephen Witkoff, okay? Pull that name, Google him. You can do even Wikipedia. This is the guy that Trump sent over to the Middle East, and watch what we're about to say. Trump, if Mossad is gonna use this dude, he gonna come down to the Israelites too. So we like Trump. He's funny. He's a New Yorker and all that. But pull up.
Hey, Cap, do you think he tried to blackmail Netanyahu by posting that to force him to do a peace treaty?
Well, no. I think that Trump has to play like a chameleon, and that's the way I look at it right now. But the chameleon that he's playing, God is making him change colors. So now look, this guy. Let's read about him today, please. Yes, can you leave it off? Don't put it on me no more. I got my hand on my nose. We don't need to see me, bro. Let's watch this. Please, whoever's doing that. Come on.
Stephen Charles Witkoff is an American attorney, a real estate investor.
So number one, he went to law school. He's not a dummy. He understands the law. Read on.
A real estate investor and developer. Philanthropist.
He got a lot of money. Read on.
And founder of the Witkoff Group.
Okay.
He practiced as a real estate attorney for the first few years of his career, then pivoted to become a real estate investor and developer.
Scroll down real quick. Yes.
All right. During the first presidency of Donald Trump in 2020, Witkoff was a member of the Great American Economic Revival industry groups, which were created to combat the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States.
Remember in New Orleans, it was shutting all the businesses down. Remember, you could only be 25% of the people could be in the building. You had to wear a mask. If you got caught in the grocery store without a mask, people were willing to tackle you.
Right.
They tried to cripple the economy with something that they created. And now, in 2025, there are people saying that they found proof that the COVID-19 vaccines were not safe. They should have never been given, and people are livid. And they put fear on us like 4 years ago. They put fear on the American people. Yeah. The same way they put fear on the American people to go and justify going to fight in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Now, go down. Yes. Go down to early life real quick.
Early life. Witkoff is Jewish.
Read it again, please.
Witkoff is Jewish.
So why am I going here? Because later on, when we watch this clip, this is a Jewish guy that says what he's about to say. So this is why this theory of, okay, you have to separate. Number one, we are the real Jews.
Right.
We're not Jewish. We are the Israelites.
Right.
Caucasians, the Jewish people, claim Judaism. And in with that Judaism, you have a belief they called being Zionism or being a Zionist, which is the repatriation of Jewish people who are 98% Caucasian from the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia, the Ashkenazi Jews, so-called. They're European by blood, right?
Right.
Caucasian. There's a part of them that in actually the 1917 Balfour Declaration, they began to repatriate, and then by the masses in 1948, that thing called that ACMA, what is it called? Remember that thing? What the Palestinian Arabs call it? Damn it! It's the Exodus. It's Nakma, something like that. It's a word. Anyways, all that being said, there's a division between Jewish people. We had a rabbi earlier. We had a Catholic priest earlier. All say, and a Jewish political guy in the first part of the show says, Zionism is wrong. Many hundreds, if not millions of people who are Jewish are divided on the stance of being a Zionist. Because guess what? They're not the original Jews. Okay? The original Jews are scattered throughout slavery and are in the ghettos of Detroit, Miami, and throughout the Caribbean on the receiving end of oppression. We don't own, we have no power. We have no political might. We have no military might. Okay? Now, play.
Coming in the pipeline that, and this started coming out yesterday, that Stephen Witkoff, who is the Middle East envoy, Trump's pick for the Middle East envoy. He's a Jewish businessman, a Jewish real estate investor and developer. He doesn't have the background of diplomacy that one might normally have. And he apparently is known for speaking unusually aggressively. Well, apparently, this is according to Haaretz, says last Friday evening, Stephen Witkoff, U.S. President-elect Donald.
Remember, Friday evening, Jewish. Friday evening, Jewish. Play on.
Called from Qatar to tell Prime
Pause,
Minister.
get a map of the Middle East. Pull up Qatar or Qatar, as it looks like.
I've been there before too, Cap.
Yes, sir. It's the island that sticks up like a finger. The country. Yep. Look at north, right between United Arab Emirates. It's in green. Now,
Right
so
by
that
Bahrain.
guy, Witkoff, was in Qatar. It looks like Qatar. He was there, right? Now, blow it back a little bit. That's where he was. Look at Israel, the other green country. So that's where the other guy was, okay? So look at how far it is. This is Trump's representative who is Jewish on a Friday night. We're getting somewhere. Now go back to that. Watch, I'm showing you well, I'll say it later. Play on.
Netanyahu's aides that he would be coming to Israel the following afternoon. The aides politely explained.
So remember, if it's Friday night, he told Netanyahu, I'm coming there tomorrow afternoon. It's Friday night. Tomorrow afternoon is Saturday afternoon. Watch what Netanyahu and his Jewish men said to another Jewish guy who understands what it means to be Jewish. Play.
Middle of the Sabbath, but the prime minister would gladly meet him Saturday night. Witkoff's blunt reaction took them by surprise. He explained to them in salty English that Shabbat was of no interest to him. His message was loud.
The reason why, it's twofold for this. Number one, Trump not playing. Number two, many of the Jewish, that's their religion. It's not our religion. Our religion is the commandments of God and the laws of God. That's our heritage. Many of the Jewish don't care about keeping the Sabbath holy.
Right.
And it's Shabbat. Surely he'll know. He said, I don't care about your stupid Shabbat. That's what he's saying. Because what it is, it's about money and it's about power. They don't care. And let's see if he keeps the Shabbat holy and sticks to his conviction, because that's his belief as his Jewish religion. What did Netanyahu do? Play.
Thus, in an unusual departure from official practice, the prime minister showed up at his office for an official meeting with Witkoff, who then returned to Qatar to seal the deal. So
Wait a
Witkoff,
minute. So he stopped the Shabbat to do business on the Sabbath. But I thought the real Jews were supposed to keep the Sabbath.
Right.
So the point is that you have a Jewish enclave representing Trump, who knows it's the Sabbath, says to him, I'm in Qatar, I'm coming there tomorrow afternoon. You better meet with me to conduct business. Netanyahu's like, we can't, it's the Shabbat. You know, you're a Jewish businessman. I don't give a damn about that. You're meeting with me. I'm telling you, his house is divided. They're divided, they're divided apart. And again, we're showing you conversations between Jewish men. One is a Jewish businessman. One is a Jewish Zionist, which is Netanyahu and the Israelis over there. Most of them are Zionist, okay? Now, play on.
He's in Qatar, then he's in Israel, trying to get a negotiation going for the hostages to be released, for there to be a hostage agreement. Trump said all hell will break loose if the hostages aren't returned by the time I take office. That means 1 week from now, the hostages, there needs to be some movement on this. And Witkoff basically said, I mean, I'm guessing with salty English, saying the Shabbat was of no interest to him, that what he said was, I don't give an F about Shabbat. He better get his ass in here. And Netanyahu obeyed, which makes me wonder what else he said, what else Witkoff said, like, otherwise we're cutting off weapons, or what sort of stick did he use against Netanyahu to get him motivated to actually show up to his office on Shabbat. So Also, it goes on to say, let me just read a little bit more from this. It says, a week before Trump's inauguration, Jerusalem already sees a change in the rules of the game that has broken the deadlock in the hostage negotiations. Unusually, the outgoing Biden administration has let
Witkoff... In the interest of time, we're going to move on. Now, we're going to go to... I'm missing a couple of things, but we didn't even get to the Iranian-Russian relationship. Just know that, this real quick, Iran and Russia signed a 20-year strategic partnership agreement. This is Iran and Russia. We did. The whole thing? Okay. All right. So remember that. Remember that. Now, remember that carefully. Now I saved, we did Volkswagen. Okay. I want you to pull up 11, which is called the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine was by a president named Monroe back in the 1800s. And it was something that, let's read the first three and then in purple.
Yes, sir.
This is very important because what Trump is doing is expanding on the concept of this. Play, read.
All right, the Monroe Doctrine, 1823. The Monroe Doctrine was articulated in President James Monroe's 7th annual message to Congress on December 2nd, 1823. The European powers, according to Monroe, were obligated to respect the Western Hemisphere as the United States' sphere of interest.
Now, pause. Remember, we showed you Greenland, right? And remember that during this time, they was beefing with European countries. Remember, they had the Spanish-American War. That was Spain. Remember, no taxation without representation. The British fought the colonists. Well, guess what's going to happen again? It's going to be the same thing. Europe is going to attack America. Now, why is Trump doing this? The Lord putting it in his heart. The Lord's moving Trump for all this to happen. Read on.
President James Monroe 1823 annual message to Congress contained the Monroe Doctrine, which warned European powers not to interfere in the affairs of the Western Hemisphere.
That's what's going on. Trump's like, listen, Denmark, we don't give a damn if you think you own Greenland. That's ours. That's our part of the world. And now, if you paid attention earlier, he's like, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to invoke Article 5. We showed you something later on. The same guy or the same country was like, okay, now we're willing to hear the Americans. That was switched up in the last 3-4 days. These 10 horns are going to hate the whore. And guess what? America already started planning for this way back before the country, right before slavery ended. They already had this in mind. Well, the Lord put this in their mind. Read on.
Understandably, the United States has always taken a particular interest in its closest neighbors, the nations of the Western Hemisphere. Equally understandably, expressions of this concern have not always been favorably regarded by other American nations.
Read on.
The Monroe Doctrine is the best known U.S. policy toward the Western Hemisphere.
Remember that, the Western Hemisphere. Read on.
Buried in a routine annual message delivered to Congress by President James Monroe in December 1823.
Watch this.
The doctrine warns European nations that the United States would not tolerate further colonization or puppet monarchs.
Now, pull the next one, Monroe in 1865.
The Monroe Doctrine was invoked in 1865 when the U.S. government exerted diplomatic and military pressure in support of the Mexican president Benito Juarez. This support enabled Juarez to lead a successful revolt against the Emperor Maximilian, who had been placed on the throne by the French government.
They've always had a problem with the French, Spanish, Dutch, and also the British. They've always had a fight with the European countries. They came out of Great Britain. They came out of Europe, okay? That's why when you go to certain cities, and when I grew up, you had New England. You had New Amsterdam, New York, okay? New Britain, Okay, all these new, because it was the new Europe. And that's why you have all these places like that. Now, we're gonna go to McGregor, and then we're gonna close out. So now, this is Colonel McGregor. This guy is probably he's the king of geopolitical. He worked for Trump before, and they're not gonna let this guy have a job because he will tear them up. Now, just like Scott Ritter, this guy too has a lot of good points. I have 2 timestamps, and we're done.
Ceasefire. Professor Mearsheimer says it's a significant defeat for Israel. Do you agree?
You said the significance is deep.
Can they hear this online? It sounds very, very low. Okay, all right. Hopefully y'all can hear it. Play.
Said the so-called ceasefire is a significant defeat for Israel because none of its goals have been achieved, and that Netanyahu is only agreeing to it, kicking and screaming under pressure from Trump.
Well, my inclination is to say not entirely, because I think there's more happening behind the scenes than any of us realize. First of all, I think the Israelis could profit from some form of ceasefire, though I expect, having looked at the agreement, this can't last longer than 6 weeks, because that's the first phase. And that's the phase of greatest importance to Mr. Netanyahu, because that's when he's supposed to get back the hostages that are still alive. I think once that's done, the ceasefire will be completely meaningless, and they'll resume operations as they have in the past. I think what's more important, too, at the same time, is I think behind the scenes...
Pause.
President...
This is important. Remember, we showed you before that Iran just made a 20-year pact with Russia. What we're not seeing is Donald Trump has got another agenda that God's going to put in him. Why? Because in order for the Valley of Megiddo to happen, in order for Armageddon to happen, in order for everything to play out, the 10 horns shall hate the whore. It's going to have to happen. Watch what he's about to say.
His administration may well have agreed to a joint attack with Israel against Iran. And that's going to be an air and naval power attack, largely aircraft and missiles. But I'm fairly certain that that agreement was reached. And in return for that, I think Mr. Netanyahu was willing to go along with this short-term ceasefire, because he would like to have some measure of quiet on his flanks while he goes after Iran with our substantial help.
Are Israel and Iran preparing for war with each other as we speak?
Oh, absolutely. No question about
it. According to Israeli newspapers, not Haaretz, which you and I read, the president, Trump, entered into a side deal with Prime Minister Netanyahu, not published, but leaked to this reporter and not denied. The side deal consists of 3 known points. The first is allowing NSO, an Israeli software company, to sell its product called Pegasus, on which Joe Biden imposed an embargo. Pegasus is the zero click. Pegasus would allow the government to enter anybody's.
Okay, we went a little bit further that time. Now, go to 16:35 to 20. This is, and we're going to close out with this. Y'all, we got to get ready, because the U.S., along with Israel, is going to go to war with Iran. And we don't know when it's going to happen, but when it happens, don't be surprised. And what do you think is going to happen when they attack Iran? Remember, get second Esdras real quick. Remember, it says the Carmanians raging with wrath. What is going to make, remember, Tehran is the capital of Iran. Iran is a huge country, an industrious country that has pull up the population of Iran. I think it's 120 million people. It's a huge country. It's like if somebody attacked Chicago or New York, okay? They have ballistic missiles. They have the ability to launch missiles that can destroy Israel, okay? Okay, that's almost 100 million people. Okay, all right. So significant population in Iran. And it's a much smaller country than the U.S., but it has probably a little, almost a third of the people of the United States. Very, very big population. Go back to that video. Yes.
Would you want to start at verse 28?
Second Ezra
15.
Yep. Let me hear Carmanians.
Yes, sir. Second Ezra chapter 15 in verse 30. Also, the Carmanians.
Go. You're right. 28. You're right, Solomon. Go to 28 first.
Yes, sir. Verse 28. Behold, in horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east.
From what?
From the east.
From the east. What's in the east? The Middle East. Guess what's further to the east? Russia. China. That's really the far east. Read on.
Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia.
Now this part of the east is talking about the Middle East. Read on.
Shall come out with many chariots.
Well, why didn't they come out yet? Something's got to have to happen to make them come out. Read on.
And the multitude of them shall be.
Wait, the multitude of them, that means they're together. Read on.
Shall be carried as the wind upon earth.
They're going to move swift, militarily swift weapons. Read.
That all they which hear them may fear and tremble.
So are the other Arabs going to be afraid of them? Who's going to be the ones that's going to be trembling at the Arabs, the Ishmaelites, the sons of the dragons coming together? Who is it going to be? Other Arabs from Yemen who be scared about their brothers rising up? No. Read on.
Also, the Carmanians.
This is talking about Iran. The Carmanians are the Iranians. Read on.
Raging in wrath.
Wait, why would they? When Israel attacked their bases in parts of Iraq and Syria, they launched a couple of missiles at them, breached their Iron Dome. That is not wrath. What is going to make the Carmanians rage with wrath? They're going to be attacked. They're going to be touched. Okay, read it. And I don't know when, I don't know how it's going to, what? Read it again.
Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath.
The raging with wrath. If they were raging with wrath back in November, they could have blown Israel, the land, apart. Why? What was the proof? They launched drones that breached the Iron Dome and other low caliber missiles that breached the Iron Dome. They didn't use their hypersonic missiles. They could have destroyed that country. Okay? Yes. Read on.
Shall go forth as the wild boars in the wood.
Now, very good. So showing you that something's going to make the Carmanians rage with wrath. We're almost done. Go back to this. Let's let this play out.
With Donald Trump's expressed desires to have some sort of dominion over the Panama Canal, Greenland, and Canada.
Well, remember, we've got to go back to this view of it's got to be a win. The president needs a win. We need a win. How do we get a win? And I think Panama and Greenland in particular, particularly Greenland, frankly, I think that's viewed as a place where we can assert ourselves, bully our way into the situation, and claim victory by having gotten control in some fashion of Greenland, to a lesser extent the Panama Canal, and bill that as enhancing American national security, as expanding the Monroe Doctrine, and expanding
That's why we
American
went to the Monroe
power.
Doctrine, because that's what Trump is doing. He's enacting that. Okay? He's enacting that because it's going to protect the United States from foreign powers, which we don't realize it yet, and that includes Europe. Okay? Play.
The same thing is true about the comments on Canada, annexing central Western Canada that ostensibly is unhappy with their friends in the East. All of this has a lot to do with this notion of a win. George Kennan said an awful lot of what we do. In fact, he thought most of it in foreign policy was designed to create a pleasing picture of ourselves to the American public.
And that's to the point where Thomas made at the beginning of the show. If you have the American public believing that we are the righteous nation that helps everybody, that is get off scot-free, but too many social media outlets are creating independent sources where now you're not relying on that. When I was a kid, you had 4 stations, 6, 10, and 12, and I think there was another one. That's all you had. TV went off at midnight. Now you got people showing you TikTok videos and Instagram of Arabs in Palestine taking their limbs of their children and putting them back together. People are seeing that. They're not believing it anymore. So what he said just now, play that, rewind this 10 seconds. Listen to what he says. This is heavy.
Thought most of it in foreign policy was designed to create a pleasing picture of ourselves to the American public.
Pause. A pleasing picture of ourselves to the American public. The reason why the civil rights movement got national attention is because other white nations began to see the footage. And they put pressure internationally on the United States. You're the home of the free and the brave, and look what you're doing to your slaves. Look what you're doing. You freed them. Look what you're doing. Now, the U.S. knows, like this whole talk about the wildfires, some of them wildfires, they're saying, now this is allegedly, that many of those fires are being purposely set. People are understanding what's going on, okay? And he's saying that if you dupe the American people into being scared, we got to fight this war to protect national security. We got to take Greenland. People will not rise up and stop these things, because if this is a democratic society, you should be able to get the elected officials to do what the people want. It's not that. We don't live in that. And guess what? Behind that, go back to the thumbnail. We're going to close out now. Behind that is, no matter how much, this is why Esau trusts in his system. What Esau does not truly understand is there's a God in heaven that's moving Trump. Trump is powerful. He's a dictator style. He's a city guy, New Yorker, but he doesn't understand. Now he actually said, God, I believe God kept me alive. Yes, he did keep you alive, because he's going to use Trump. He's going to use Netanyahu. He's going to use the president of Czechoslovakia. You're going to use the new president of Germany. He's going to use the supreme leader of Iran. He's going to use Vladimir Putin, all of them, so that he can fulfill in a lineup to make the words of this book actually become true. So with that, brothers and sisters, we went over by a little bit. No lard back attack tonight. Only thing I can say is, you fat back lard asses, lose the weight. You brothers that's in the green, stay in the green. You brothers that in the red, you need to get to the yellow. You brothers in the yellow, you better get to the green. We're going to rise. There's a health movement going on in Israel, and we're going to get all of our nation healthy. So with that, we say shalom. How many minutes over?
There's a special place that I like to go, with nobody's home, to increase my understanding, my daily bread that amazing. I'm talking about precepts, precept on precept, line upon line. Precept on precept, line upon line. Babe, I can't keep explaining, can't study for you.